So we're going to start with discussing keyframes in Adobe After Effects. So I'm going to make a new composition with this button here at the bottom, or composition, new composition. 1920 by 1080 is full screen. That's what we're going to be working in. If you want to lock your aspect ratio, you can do it over here, but we're good. Square pixels is what we're going to be dealing with. Someone may have left it at rectangular or anamorphic, but we want square. Frame rate, if you shot your project at 23.976, you'll be using that. Otherwise, you may have shot it at 29.97. Check what your camera says. Then duration, we're going to start at 0. I'm just going to make this 10 seconds, so that'd be 10.00. And my background color is black. I'm going to use for this demonstration, I'm going to right click down in here and go New, Solid. My solid, I don't want it to be the full size of the screen. Otherwise, I'd keep it that way. So I'm just going to make it 200 by 200, so it's a square. And for the purposes of this, I'll make it red so that you can see it. And I'll click OK. There's my solid. Now it's blurry because the last time I was working, I changed the resolution so it'd be faster to work. Now at full resolution, it's not blurry. So resolution is right here in case someone changed it when you were working. So we discussed the 4 main motion graphic principles. There's position, rotation, transparency, and scale. If I right click on the arrow here, you'll see transform. And that's where you'll have position, scale, rotation, opacity. Or, to save space, you could just hit the letter P, or the letter R, or the letter T, or the letter S. If you want to work on more than one at a time, hold down Shift. So I'll go Shift P, Shift R, Shift T, and I've got them all available. You can start your keyframing anywhere you want. So I'm just going to start at 1 second just so you can see. And to change time code, you can always do it here, 1.00. I'm going to start my keyframes. I've got position, I click the stopwatch. This is to go back a keyframe, that's to go forward a keyframe. And I'm going to make this 3 seconds long. You could click and drag or you could type in 400 to go 3 seconds. This diamond will add my next keyframe. So now I can go to the first keyframe or to the last keyframe, add or remove a keyframe with that button. So the first keyframe, we're going to have it here. That's where we want to start. Otherwise, I'd move it to where I want it to be. So if I want to go diagonally, I'll start there, go to the next keyframe, and I want to move it over to the side. I'm scrolling along these numbers, up or down, left or right. You can do it by scrolling in the numbers or by moving it. It's usually easier to work by scrolling with the numbers because sometimes you select a layer that you don't want. So I just hit the spacebar to preview the animation, and you can see that it is working. It's going slower because I'm running multiple programs and recording the screen at the same time. That's the basics of keyframing. If I want to have it rotate, you could do it anytime you want. So I could start the rotation right here. So I'll start by clicking on the stopwatch and say I want it to stop rotating a little bit after it arrives. So I'll add my next keyframe. Go back to the first one. I'll have to start at 0. The next one, I could have it go a certain degrees. I'll hit Command Z to undo. Or I could type in 2. So now it's going to rotate 2 full circles as it moves. Scale, I could have it start anywhere I want. So I'm going to scale it there. Right here, I'm going to add another keyframe. I'm going to make it more than 100%. Then I'll have it shrink it down. So now you see how that's changing. And if I want to fade it in, start my opacity at the beginning to right there. So my first one will be opacity 0. So now it's going from 0 opacity to full opacity over time. Let's slide that down a little bit. so that it's moving as it fades in. See, there we go. And I want the rotation. I could always just slide my keyframes around. If I want to keep the same time, I select both of them and move it to where I want it. See? And that's the basics of keyframing, shown in Adobe After Effects.